because I feel cancer doesn't affect you, it affects the whole family. So I think in our culture, in our community, we don't talk about these things. So that was the only thing which was missing.
Hi everyone. Today I'm in conversation with someone who's truly inspiring, Harjeet Kaur. Thanks Harjeet for joining me today.
Thank you, Prerna, for having me today.
Harjeet is a stage 4 blood cancer survivor, and today she will share her journey of hope, resilience, survivorship, inspiring many of us. Based on her experiences, she actively raises awareness and empowers individuals to advocate for their health. She is dedicated to breaking the stigma around cancer in the South Asian community in Canada. Harjeet also co-founded 𝐤𝐲𝐬𝐻𝐿, a cancer support platform for the South Asian community. Harjeet, you're truly thriving now, but I'm sure it wasn't easy for you. So when you found out about cancer, what was your reaction?
So firstly, I would like to start with, I moved to Canada in 2018, along with my husband, to start a new family, to have a future, to settle down. Basically, as an immigrant, when you go to a new country, you want to settle down, have a home, have a good career. But I think life has different plan for us. And in 2019, August 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 4 rare blood cancer, which was subcutaneous panniculitis T-cell lymphoma, a quite rare form of blood cancer, hardly 120 or 150 cases reported globally. And it took them 3 months to diagnose. The only symptom I had was high fever, nothing else. So every time I used to go for blood work, scans, or surgeries, there was nothing they could see. So I was struggling with that fevers for 3 months. We did reach out to our family doctor back home in India, and everybody was like, the reports don't show us anything. And at that moment, I was in hospital for 2.5 months because I could not eat. I had ulcers. I was, I was fainting most of the times. I used to get blackout. And imagine, you being in a new country where it's just you and your husband, and you have to work, you have to do everything. So it was quite overwhelming and challenging for both of us, especially for him to deal with all these things. And we were planning to come back to India in August because we were not getting any answers. We thought probably I should go back to India and get some extensive tests and scans. But they did what they could do. I had all the scans, surgeries, biopsies, you name it, I had it. But unfortunately, this came on a skin punch biopsy, which not a lot of people do. But that was the last thing they tried. And when the result came, I was in a room, and I remember my mom was standing next to me, and the doctors rushed into the room and they said, Harjeet, we don't want you to go. We don't want you to leave for India. We got the diagnosis and you have very less time. We need to start the treatment ASAP. And at that moment, I was completely numb because mom was just standing next to me and I could see the tears rolling, to her eyes, and listening to those words that you have cancer, I could not react because I thought if I go down or if I melt down, my mom in front of me could not resist to all those things. But I just kept that strong face because I felt I don't have any other option left.
As you mentioned, early detection is the key. So what are the symptoms that one should look out for?
Obviously, I feel, in my case, because it took them 3 months to diagnose, I have no idea why. Maybe because my body was not showing any other symptoms apart from fevers, because it was a rare case, right? But I feel if you feel something is not right, you should always get it tested. And I feel in our community, people are just so scared to, hear this term cancer. That's why they don't go for early test and detection. But I feel early test and detection can save your life. You don't have to go through stage 4 or stage 3. I still have this feeling, feeling in my mind. I wish I could have been tested at the, stage 1 or stage 2. But I guess that's it. I didn't have much choice. But early detection is the key to, obviously, you don't want to make things worse, right? So.
Who was your biggest support during this journey?
So when I got the news that I had cancer, my mom flew just 1 week before because I was so sick that it was so overwhelming for my husband to take care of me that we reached out to my family back home, and my mom was there. My dad flew from India ASAP before my second chemotherapy. My brother was there, so I had my family support and my close friends. They were all there during my chemotherapy. Everybody, my mom or my dad, my husband, every time someone was there during the treatment. And the place where I stay, I have seen people coming alone for their chemo, driving back home, So in that way, I was really blessed that I had that family support all the time. But one thing which was missing between, all of this was a talk about my experience, a talk about their experience, because I feel cancer doesn't affect you, it affects the whole family. So I think in our culture, in our community, we don't talk about these things. So that was the only thing which was missing. But in other way, I think I was so blessed that my parents flew from India. They were there to take care of me, my brother, my husband. My few close friends traveled from different part of the city and country. So I think in that way I was truly blessed. And not everyone has that kind of support all the time.
So I think I'm going to build on that. As you mentioned, there's a lot of stigma around it. So what do you feel, what initiatives can be taken to break the stigma or initiate conversation around cancer more?
So when I was going through all this, obviously in my initial days, I didn't want to talk much about it, and I was completely off everywhere. I didn't had any conversation with anyone. But when I was isolated for my stem cell transplant, at that moment I felt that I need to talk. And I just wrote a note for my family, thinking, what if I don't go back from here? What if I don't survive? And at that moment I started writing my journey. I went home and I started writing my journey, and I was looking for help. So I connected with the organizations over there. There are a lot of support groups out there. And while I was connecting, because it was during COVID, it was all online. And I realized that it was just me in the room. When you sit, in a group and you feel that, it's just you who is over there and not anyone else from your own community or religion or culture. So at that moment, I started, doing little research on why is that. And then I came across a lot of people who felt like, we don't talk about cancer. And I started talking. I started talking about the stigma related to South Asian community. And I felt that stigma at my place as well. There was support, but we never talked. So I felt, and I spoke to a couple of organizations. I spoke about the stigma, and I came across a lot of South Asian communities in my city where I stay. I did radio interviews and stuff, and I came across that people don't even take a name of cancer. They call it as a problem. People say that cancer, is something which is just a dead end. And if someone is diagnosed with cancer, they probably not survive. Or, it's a bad karma. Or one new thing which I heard was cancer is contagious. Which I feel, why are these myths around? Like, we should take cancer as a medical condition, like other medical conditions. And we should address the cause, right? We should talk about it openly, because you don't want to make other person who's going through it feel that, he or she is a burden on someone. And probably that person might feel, I don't want to survive, because if people or society thinks like this, what's the point, of getting better and surviving? So I feel we need to talk about it as an open conversation.
Harjeet, in your case, we know that your brother was the one who donated the stem cell to you. But that was something very new for me, even though I've known a lot of cancer patients. So can you tell us more about it? What is the procedure? How do you go about it? And what are the myths around it?
So Prerna, for me, because as I mentioned that my cancer was so rare, I started with chemotherapy, but the chemos were not working. Because I had this complication along with the blood cancer was HLH. Which is an autoimmune disease. So my body was fighting against my own immune system. So after having 3 chemos, I remember the doctors called us and they said that, I still remember he said, Harjeet, what's your appetite? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm just 32. I want to live. And I want to get over with this. So he's like, I just have 2 options for you. one, we can keep on giving you chemotherapy, but I have no clue, you know, how your body will react. And second was a stem cell transplant, and I had no idea what he was talking. And I was like, what is it? He's like, we look for a donor who, you know, who will give who will actually be your bone marrow transplant person, and probably that will give you a life longer. You know, I don't know what expectancy, but maybe 5, 10. You know, so he was like, and like, okay, fine, you know. And I went home, and you know, I felt like, you know, we're just trying our best, probably, and it will not work. And but we discussed with our family doctors back home in India, and everybody was like, no, we need to do a stem cell donation. We need to do a stem cell transplant. And then my brother came to a picture because our oncologist asked if I have a sibling. And I said yes, and they did some tests on him. They did some blood work on him, and luckily he was 100% match, which is very rare. Very rare. He was a sibling, but still it's very rare that you are 100% match. So because of all this, they started the planning that they will give me more aggressive chemo, so that my cancer can be into a partial remission, so I can be prepared for a stem cell transplant. So how stem cell transplant work is, so I was admitted in hospital on 6th of April 2020 during COVID. Because COVID happened, so things changed, and they told us that Harjeet needs to be admitted in hospital for 30 to 35 days under isolation because of COVID. And they did admitted my brother for 24 to 48 hours. I don't remember exactly, but they did some blood work on him. He was given some booster injections, and it was like a blood transfusion, like, you know, the stem cells were extracted from his blood, and then they preserved it. And then I was admitted to the hospital, and the plan was to kill my immune system because my cancer was not stopping through chemotherapy. So the plan was to kill each and every part of cells from my body. So they gave me chemo every day, the most painful chemo, and then radiation, so that I could be zero neutrophil, like zero cells. And 14th of April 2020, his stem cells were given to me through a blood transfusion process, which was painful because it goes through your bone marrow. And I think 14th April 2020 is the day where they called me as a rebirth day, because I was in the hospital isolated, but that's how it works. So I feel stem cell donation is so important because you could save someone's life there. And it's just a simple, easy process. It won't affect you, you know, lifelong. And I feel one small step could save someone's life there.
So you mentioned that you were undergoing chemotherapy and radiation. What are some of the side effects that are already known and some that you experience which are not really talked about?
So when I started my first chemotherapy, obviously it was through PICC line, and initial stages I did not lose my hair. It was after my second chemo I started losing my hair. That's one of the most common you know, side effects. And nausea is the worst. And so I had long hair, and I didn't want to let go my hair. And I remember it was second chemo, and I used to have like a lot of tangled hair, and I used to have a lot of pain in my head. And we went to see my oncologist, and he told my husband, Harjeet needs to let go her hair. I already started losing my eyebrows, eyelashes, and slowly, you know, losing your hair felt like naked. You know, I felt like, you know, I have nothing in my body left. So I didn't want to let go my hair due to several reasons. That one day my husband sat, you know, in a balcony, and he shaved his head. And my dad could not see it because obviously I belong to a Sikh culture where we wear turban, you know, and you don't cut your hair. So he could not see that. And then my husband made me sat over there, and he shaved my head. And my mom and my dad just went inside the room because they could not see it. And every time I used to talk to my extended family back home in India, my dad used to say, like, you know, cover your head. So at that moment, I didn't feel like, you know, why I'm doing it. But at certain time, you know, after all this, I started thinking like, why? This is what it is, you know, I have to accept. And my family has to accept me like this, and I need to embrace that. And that's where I, you know, have that bald head. At that moment I never used to take pictures and stuff because I was so weak, I was so sick because of all these things. But that is one thing which is very, you know, side effect, the pain, the nausea, There are days when I was like completely bedridden. I didn't want to get out of the bed. And because of my low immune system, which is very uncommon, so I did lost my right eye vision. Due to the very low compromised system, which can be, which can be to a normal human being too. But then because I had low immune system because of the high chemo, I did lost my right eye vision, which actually damaged the retina of my right eye. And then obviously the fertility loss. I was 32 when I was diagnosed, and all of a sudden I stopped having my periods, and I was like, what has happened? And my oncologist was like, I'm sorry, but you were so sick for last 3 months. And then we had to start the chemo, aggressive chemo, which is which is Red Devil, which is the worst chemo. And so he's like, there's no way that we could have preserved your eggs or do something about it. And then I went to see my fertility specialist, and she's like, Harjeet, I'm sorry, but you have already started the treatment, and now you're planning to go for the aggressive treatment, which is stem cell transplant. There's no way we could save your fertility, and I'm sorry to say, but you have been thrown into early menopause at the age of 32. So that was a huge loss to me, and I still grieve about it a lot. And I did had an argument with my husband, and he was like, my first priority was you. So you have to go through so many challenges. It's just not physical challenges. You go through mental challenges, social challenges, financial challenges. There's so much when it comes to cancer.
So I'm glad you brought this up actually. So is there someone you took help from, to discuss, a psychologist or somebody to discuss the experience you're going through?
When I came back from my stem cell transplant, because I was completely isolated for 35 days, and where I felt every day was a challenge, but somehow I got that hope and strength to, get up in the next morning and speak to my family or see my family, because but then when I went back home after that, I was completely bedridden. I could not walk. I could not do anything. In my mind, I was feeling that I'm so burdened on my family. At this age, I'm letting my mom do so many things, which is, quite opposite. At that age, you need to help your parents. You need to help your family. So at that moment, I felt, I don't know what is this, how my life has changed completely from, working woman, from, doing your things, and now totally dependent on everyone. So I started writing my blog, and I remember I went to see my oncologist, and I was like, I'm like feeling alone. I felt like, all these years, like 1.5 years, I felt like I was in a full-time job where I was going for a chemo, where I was doing everything as for a doctor or my family, and now I feel like helpless. And that time he said it's okay to feel like that, and he really listened to me, and he told me that because you were young and you've gone through so much, that it's okay to feel like that.
How did you yourself stay positive and motivated during this journey?
So initially, in the beginning, I was not motivated at all, because I was struggling so much to find out about the things I was going through. But slowly, when I came out of my journey, when I started writing about it, when I started sharing about my journey, because I felt that no one should face this journey alone. And that's how, my thing started, where I talked about it publicly on my social media, started talking on events and interviews. And when I connected with the organizations over there in Canada, there are a lot of organizations where you have support system, you see people, who've gone through the similar experience. So you get motivation from those people. Like I've been involved with so many organizations in Canada who are actually, some are young adult in that journey, and some are like, dealing with cancer lifelong. So, those people actually gave me that motivation that, we can do it together, and we don't have to deal with this all by ourselves. So I think that's what, motivated me to do something, and to also give back to my community, to my own people, because that's what I feel. If someone out there, if any one person can get that help from my journey, I would be more happy, in that way that, my story has helped that person.
Absolutely.
Truly, it has helped Prerna. My type of cancer is very rare. My doctors haven't found anyone in Canada.
Right.
They've done a research document for my cancer. There's no one I have found. But someone from my social media and my blog reached out to me from far across the world, right? And now I know 2 people from other countries who have a similar type of diagnosis, and they feel that I have given them a hope of survival, right? Because I am a living example in front. So I feel that's something which has been motivating me to keep doing what I'm doing and to help and support other people through this journey.
So Harjeet, tell us more about your initiative Chai and Hope.
Oh, this Chai and Hope came when I was talking in one of the events in Toronto. I was invited and I was speaking about the stigma within the South Asian community, and I was saying that I want to give back to my community. I want to help my people because I feel no one should suffer this thing alone, and no one should feel this that they are dealing with this pain. So, and I met a friend in that that event, and she's a South Asian too. And when I was talking about it, that we have to come together to do this, and then and it just came up randomly, and we sat and we were talking about the stigma related to it, and then what happened was we came up with the name Chai because obviously we are South Asians. We love drinking chai, and hope is something we also resonate with a lot.
Absolutely.
So that's how Chai and Hope came into. So we thought, why don't we start with a Facebook group where we have Chai and Hope as a South Asian cancer community, like an open conversation, a place where people can come, connect and talk to each other.
Right.
So it started with Facebook. We don't have many people on Facebook because it's tough to find our people coming on board and talking about it, right? So initially it was Facebook, and we thought let's just do from Instagram too, so it can go global. Like people all across the globe can reach out to us for any kind of support if they want to talk, if they want to ask anything, which is obviously not medical related, but something else, right? So that's how it started, and it's just a baby for us right now. We've not converted that into a non-profit organization or anything, but it's just an idea where we have a safe space to talk. So we have shared a couple of stories, so if people want to connect with us, they can always reach out to our page called Chai and Hope on Instagram, and they can reach out to my page as well. So I'm happy to talk to anyone, and feel free to tell your people or friends if they need help. Just don't make them feel alone in this journey.
Thanks for that call out. I think a lot of people are going through this journey, and they would like to connect with you and share their personal journey with you. I'm really glad that you mentioned that this is a global platform that you've come up with, Chai and Hope, because I feel in India at least there are not as many cancer stories that come out, or people don't openly talk about it. So it's definitely a good way to connect with people across the world.
And I feel in India we don't have a lot of organizations specifically for types of cancer, or we don't have awareness piece. There might be few, like I've been connected with a couple of people, but there's not much as we have support in Canada or US or UK. So I think we need that kind of platform to help other people, especially who is going through this journey, whether it's young, whether it's caregiver too, because I feel caregivers do have an important role.
Right, absolutely. So is there a final message that you want to give to people who are going through this journey, or those who are supporting them?
I would just say, please don't lose hope and ask for help. And to people who are supporting them or around them, please do provide your help and support to them. Just don't I know it's tough for us being Indian, discuss this thing, and you sometimes don't know how to ask that person, but any small gesture could make them feel happy, so it's just not important that you have to ask that person about the treatment, about the diagnosis. You can always do some other things, because the patient who's going through all this is already dealing with so many things, so any small help would help and support their family too.
So Harjeet, tell us, what is your superpower?
My superpower is... oh God.
I think I should give you a heads up with the question.
I know. Now I'm like, I don't know what is my superpower. I think my superpower is being, staying positive all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know actually, Prerna.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. But I feel sometimes I'm not.
Okay.
But sometimes I'm. But, just being positive, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. What is the highlight of your journey?
A good highlight or a bad highlight?
Both.
Bad highlight was a stem cell transplant treatment. That was worse. The good highlight was that I'm here, living my second life.
Yeah.
And, just being there out and supporting and helping people.
What brings you joy?
What brings me joy now?
Yeah.
Helping and supporting other people. The more I share my journey, I feel I'm helping that person out there. That brings me more happiness now.
Harjeet, you are an inspiration for many of us. But who is your inspiration?
My family. And obviously the support groups I have been, working with and collaborating with.
What's the motto or the quote that you go by?
Never lose hope. I think hope is something which is very important in our life.
Yeah.
So that's one thing which I feel like never lose hope.
Harjeet, describe yourself in 3 words.
Living and thriving.
Lovely. Is there any advice that you've received on this journey that you have totally ignored?
Yeah, a lot of people say me, don't eat this, don't do that, And sometimes I've heard the worst things like, you don't look like that, you have cancer.
Okay.
So I don't know why people say this, but and that's just not me. I've heard a lot of people, in my cancer community, people get this all the time. Stop eating this, don't do this, don't do that. I think you know what you need. I know what I need, what is healthy for me, what is not. So I feel I do listen, but I do what I want.
Do you plan to author a book someday on your journey?
Yes, I'm working on it. Hopefully this year, because I'll complete my 5 years. Hopefully, and I want to do that.
Absolutely. So that's something I really look forward to because I'm a writer too.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Canada or India? Where does your heart lie?
India, obviously, because I have my family here. But due to medical reasons and what all have gone through is Canada. I was at the right place at the right time.
According to you, what is the most underrated virtue?
I think that was something which I said already, that you don't look like that you have cancer. So that's most, I feel that is most underrated. And I don't know if you've heard about it or not, but a lot of people say this to people, and which I feel you should not, people say, don't judge the book by its cover. By its cover.
Yeah. So actually it's so relatable because a lot of people say that to mothers also. You don't look like a mother. And I'm like, why is that a compliment? Of course, I am a mother. I want to look like a mother. Yeah. It's a beautiful journey.
And be you, right? And I think, I don't know why people do that. I feel like you have to be kind to other people, right? And not judge them by their looks or by, physical appearance or something like that. That's one thing which I hate, especially in our culture and community. And I've seen more in our community.
I know your hands are full, but in your free time, what do you like doing?
I love nature. It's the place I am. I love the place because I'm near to mountains. And sometimes if I'm like not, feeling okay and I just want to go out, I feel like I just take a drive. We just take a drive to the mountains. And that has changed. I was never this kind of a person before, but now I feel, the walks and the nature is one thing which I like.
Thank you so much, Harjeet, for joining in. I think your journey has been an inspiration and it's, a journey of hope and resilience. And that's my takeaway today from the conversation. And I'm sure everyone who's watching is also feeling the same. Because I think you can either be a victim or a survivor or a thriver. Like in your case, it's just about the mindset.
Yeah. And you're totally right, Prerna, because I feel like my journey is not about me. It's about everyone's journey out there. And I feel like if someone out there can get that, motivation and empowerment from my journey, why not? So I just want to spread the message of hope around and obviously resilience. And I just feel no one has to deal with this journey alone. And I just want people to support each other and help each other through this difficult times.
I think many of us will benefit from this conversation. Those who are going through this experience and also those who have someone in their lives who's battling cancer. Harjeet has clearly shown us that you can be a victim, a survivor, or a thriver like her It totally depends on your mindset. So stay tuned for the next episode that will be coming out soon. Thank you.